The Galactic Council's decree had been absolute. Neo, a human diplomat from Earth, would marry Commander Zarathix of the Valorian Empire to cement the fragile peace treaty between their species. The room fell silent when Zara entered the ceremonial hall, a towering figure with luminescent blue skin and eyes that held the weight of 3 decades more life experience than Neo's 25 years. "This is barbaric," Neo muttered to Katniss, his fellow human attaché, who stood beside him adjusting her diplomatic sash. "They're treating me like property." Katniss squeezed his shoulder. "I know, but if you refuse, Earth loses its seat at the Council. Billions of lives hang in the balance." Neo watched Zara approach, her crystalline armor catching the light from 7 suns streaming through the viewport. At 58 Earth years, she moved with the grace of a seasoned warrior, every step deliberate and powerful. The Valorians aged differently. What humans considered middle age, they viewed as entering their prime. The ceremony was mercifully brief. As traditional Valorian vows were exchanged through neural translators, Neo couldn't shake the feeling of being trapped. Zara's expression remained unreadable, her telepathic shields impenetrable even to the Council's most skilled empaths. 3 months into their political marriage, Neo maintained separate quarters on Zara's flagship. They met only for mandatory public appearances, speaking in polite, distant tones. Katniss visited frequently, bringing news from Earth and moral support. "She hasn't tried to, you know?" Katniss asked one evening over synthesized coffee. "Consummate? No. She barely acknowledges my existence outside of ceremonies," Neo replied, staring out at the nebula beyond his window. "I'm just a symbol to her, a human trophy to parade around." What Neo didn't know was that Zara watched him from her command center with something approaching admiration. She had lost her first mate in the war with the Krillian horde 20 years prior, and had sworn never to open her heart again. This arrangement suited her, or so she told herself. Everything changed during the siege of Proxima Station. The horde, believing the human-Valorian alliance was weak, launched a surprise attack. Alarms screamed through the flagship as enemy vessels materialized from hyperspace. Zara barked orders, her military brilliance on full display, but they were outnumbered 3-1. "All diplomats to the escape pods," she commanded. Neo and Katniss rushed toward the evacuation bay, but an explosion rocked the corridor. Debris collapsed, separating them. Katniss made it through, but Neo found himself trapped, watching through the viewport as escape pods launched. "Neo!" Zara's voice crackled through his comm. "Your pod didn't make it. I'm trapped in Section 7, silence." "Then, stay there." "I'm coming." "You can't abandon your post during battle." The comm went dead. What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. Zara, leaving her second-in-command at the helm, fought through 3 levels of damaged ship and past 2 boarding parties of Krillian warriors to reach her human husband. Neo watched in awe through the corridor cameras as this woman, who had barely spoken to him in months, cut through enemies with plasma blades, her movements a deadly dance of precision and fury. She reached him covered in purple Krillian blood, breathing heavily. "Can you walk?" "Yes, but why? No time, move." They fought their way back together. Neo proved himself more capable than Zara had anticipated, using a fallen warrior's weapon to cover their retreat. When a Krillian caught Zara off guard, Neo didn't hesitate. He threw himself between them, taking a plasma burn across his chest that should have killed him. Zara caught him as he fell, her shields finally dropping. For the first time, Neo felt the full force of her emotions through their ceremonial bond: terror, rage, and something else. Something warm. "You foolish human," she whispered, applying emergency nanogel to his wound. "Why would you—" "Same reason you came for me," Neo gasped. "Because despite everything, we're not just symbols to each other anymore." Zara's ships eventually won the battle, but barely. In the medical bay afterward, Katniss found Neo conscious and healing remarkably fast. Valorian medical technology was miraculous. "I heard what you did," Katniss said, smiling. "Both of you." Zara sat beside Neo's bed, holding his hand, a gesture so intimate it shocked the medical staff. "The council wanted a political marriage," she said softly. "But they forgot something important about both our species." "What's that?" Neo asked. "We don't do anything halfway. Humans have this stubborn nobility, this refusal to abandon others even when logic dictates you should. And Valorians, when we finally let someone past our walls, we love with the intensity of supernovas." She looked at him with those ancient eyes, now soft with vulnerability. I thought I was too old, too damaged to feel this way again. You proved me wrong, Neo squeezed her hand. 33 years isn't such a big gap when one of us will live for 200 years. And when the other is brave enough to die for her, Zara added. Their story spread across the galaxy, not as the forced political marriage the Council had orchestrated, but as something the cynical aliens hadn't anticipated. Humans and Valorians began seeing each other differently. More marriages followed, genuine ones, and the alliance strengthened beyond any treaty's power. Katniss, reporting back to Earth, wrote, They tried to chain Neo to duty. Instead, he found something that chains are too weak to hold. Love that transcends age, species, and circumstance. Very human. Very fuck yeah. Years later, with Zara and Neo commanding their own diplomatic vessel together, they would laugh about those first awkward months, but they never forgot the lesson. Sometimes the universe forces you onto a path you'd never choose, and somehow, impossibly, it becomes exactly where you needed to be.